We're still trying to advance AJ's account step by step, making it better, making it faster. We've taken down spiders, we've taken down dragon, we've even taken down the clan boss. Now it's time to get those, more iffy dungeons, beginning with Ice Golem. Welcome, I'm the Deadwood Jedi. This is another Raid Shadow Legends video, and we are still in AJ's account, still advancing it step by step, one dungeon at a time. We've done clan boss for the rewards, we did spider for the silver, we did dragon for the gear, and now we gotta take down Ice Golem. This is maybe my least favorite dungeon to take on. It's extremely difficult, really tough, and it's very hard to get a speed team in. Thankfully, the gear offered here in Ice Golem isn't nearly as valuable as in other places of the game. Now, there are some really important pieces. An early level account, crit rate gear is extremely versatile and can really help make those numbers that you're trying to get on your champions. Resistance gear is really good in the late game where you're actually having to resist debuffs for things like Doom Tower, Hydra, and so many other areas of the game like Arena. So there are some valuable pieces here, but overall, this is probably the worst dungeon and the least valuable to farm. So our goal here, especially with his account, is to advance his account. Now, it's a struggle for almost anybody, even endgame players, to get a good speed team running on Ice Golems. So for his account, I'm pretty sure he's going to be struggling in it. We're going to go take a look at where he's at right now, and then we'll try and see where we can get him. But one of the things we're going to be really focused on isn't necessarily how fast we can do it, but making sure it's a consistent team, it's a steady team, and a farmable team. So maybe the runs will be a little slow, but hopefully we can set it on auto and make sure we get every single run in there that we do complete and make sure that it's a win and we get the gear from it. That's kind of our goal with this one, right? So let's go ahead and do that now. Before we do though, I do want to remind you guys, if you're enjoying the series, if you want to hear the next one, because guess what's next? Fire Night's going to be coming next. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to hit that notification bell so you don't miss out, so you are there at the front of the line when that video drops. Other than that, let's go ahead and get in here and enjoy the show. So as you can see, he's currently at stage 14, 15's unlocked, but he hasn't beaten it yet. And Ice Golem is absolutely one of the hardest dungeons to do. It's incredibly difficult, especially, early on in your account, right? There's some really crazy mechanics that the boss has. The ads are tough. The waves aren't easy either. And so it's understandable that this is where he's at. Not to mention the rewards, the gear sets are not the best ones, right? I find them useful. There's some really good stuff in there, but they're definitely not the best one. So, spending time farming Ice Golem is usually not as worth it as the other ones. And because it's so tough, I totally understand not advancing in it. So we're going to try and improve his team. And the first thing we have to do is understand the mechanics of the boss himself. So Clysis, I didn't realize his name was Clysis, but it is. So Clysis, the Ice Golem, he has, a couple different skills. Nothing crazy, but it's really about his passive that's the big thing. I mean, his A1 is just an AoE attack. His A2 is just an AoE attack, placing decrease. Actually, neither of those are big deals. But the big thing are his passive abilities. And basically, every time his HP drops below 80%, 60%, 45%, 30%, and 15%, he places this massive attack. Now he has two ads on the side, one that places heal reduction, one that places decreased defense. And the thing is, if they are dead, he'll revive them. If one of them's alive, he's also going to ignore 50% of your defense. If both of them are alive, he's going to ignore 100% of your defense with that hit, and it's going to be massive damage. On top of that, he has a chance to freeze you, 20% chance, right? Of course, if one of them's alive, that's an extra 40%. And if both of them are alive, it's 100% chance for him to freeze your team. So that skill becomes one of the biggest obstacles to beating this boss. Basically, you got to be careful not to do too much damage when those side guys are alive. If you do, he's going to wipe your team. At the same time, you want to beat him, and you want to beat him fast. So it's kind of at odds with the goal that we have. It becomes a bit of a challenge. So there's a couple ways we can deal with this, right? We can block the revive. That's definitely one approach to do it. And it can be very effective. But, a lot of times those block revive champions aren't exactly, meta for this. They're a little bit hard to put into your team. And we frankly don't have great options in that respect. So that's probably not going to work for us. Other options would be to use poisons, because when you decrease his HP bar past those thresholds using poison or HP burn, in those scenarios, it doesn't trigger his passive abilities. which is great. And that's usually the best option, especially if you don't have crazy OP champions, don't have crazy OP gear. And that's probably what we're going to end up doing today. But first, we just need to get through stage 15 and climb our way up to 20. And to do that, we don't need crazy gear. We don't need crazy champions necessarily. We just got to kind of get through it like we would any other stages, because Clysis doesn't hit that hard at this point. And we do have good revive champions. We have Cardiel, who's fantastic. We have Miscreated Monster, who's great for protection. We also have Blind Seer. We even have Syl the Drake. So we do have options as far as keeping our team alive and reviving our team if we do have champions that die. So I'm not too concerned with that. So what we're going to do, we're not even going to look at the team right now because it's only stage 14. Clearly, we're going to make some changes. So we're just going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and try and advance through the account, try and get us up to level 20. And then I'm going to show you the team that I'm bringing in so you have an idea of, the approach that I'm using to take down this boss. Okay, guys, I'm back. Now, as always, you got to use the gear and the champions that your account provides for you. In this account, we have some really good champions. We just don't always have the gear to match it, right? So we have a Cardio, we have a Blind Seer, Draco, Geomancer, and Orogrim. This is kind of like an OP clan boss team. That's weird, right? But anyway, this is a team that's going to work for us. We have Blind Seer to help keep us alive and also to bring us back if we go down. We've got Orogrim's actually doing a lot for us, not only providing poisons, but also providing a little bit of extra healing for us, which really Blind Seer is not great at doing, and Cardiel doesn't do either. What Cardiel does do is help us go faster, help us with ally attacks, so he hit a bunch, and also gives us that revive on death ability as well as a block debuff ability. He's actually pretty darn useful for this. Those ads that place those debuffs on us that can be very difficult to handle, right? Especially that heal reduction. We don't really have to worry about it with this team because we have a cleanser in Orogrim. We've got block debuffs from Blind Seer and block debuffs from Cardiel. It really helps a lot for this team. And then of course we have Draco and we have Geomancer. Now, Draco's primary goal is the poisons. Decreased defense weaken, that's great, but those poisons, boy, is that helpful. And then Geomancer's goal is to get that HP burnout. And so between the two of them, we should get enough damage on the boss to hopefully burn him down pretty quick and not spend too much crazy time on this boss. So that's our goal here. All right, guys, built the team, got us all the way up to stage 20, and this is the team that we're using, right? We've got Orogrim in here giving us poisons. That speed aura is really nice as well, and a little bit of healing. We've got Blind Seer for the revive, the shield, and the block debuffs. These are champions that are going to help keep us alive, and if I ended up bringing in Miscreated Monster. I was using Cardiel for a while, but the run's a little bit more iffy. I feel like we could probably get away with bringing in Underpriest Brognian. Might be a good option as well. Get some healing from the shields being busted and give us another shield option actually as well. But I'm pretty happy with Miscreated Monster, who's already built out and fast enough to make it work for this team. The whole goal is just, you got to stay alive. That's a big part of it, right? And then we're bringing in damage through debuffs, right? We got poisons from Draco, HP burn from Geomancer, and poisons from Orogrim. And we're going to allow them to really, take down the waves and take down the boss. Now, the speed of this is not fast. Stage 20 in Ice Golems is not easy to do. There's definitely some speedier farm teams out there, but there's nothing like super crazy without having super endgame gear. And, with an Orogrim here, we should be able to solo or come close to soloing this boss eventually anyway. So it's like there are plenty of options as far as like long-term outlook, but when you're at this stage, when you don't have the crazy gear and you maybe have some of the crazy champions, speed farming Ice Golems is not on the table. What you really just want to do is have you get a consistent team that you can auto farm and not worry about it failing. And I think that's what we have here. So far, it's been so good. Until you do a couple hundred runs, you don't really know if it's 100%, but it's going to be pretty darn close. We are tough enough to withstand that passive hit from the boss, and we're doing enough damage to get through the waves at a reasonable pace and to get through the boss pretty quickly, I would say. So let's go ahead and jump in the run and see how it works. All right, here we go. We're, obviously protecting ourselves, getting those poisons out there. And one of the great things about Miscreated Monster, that stun is a really nice ability. Now, this isn't super fast, right? I've already stated that a couple times here, and I'm emphasizing that for a reason, because it takes some time just to get through the waves. We're not going to sit through both waves of this dungeon here either. But you can see the poisons do their work. They really do tick over time. The more turns we can take, the faster we have champions like Orogrim, like Draco, like Geomancer, the more debuffs we get out there, and the faster the run becomes as we start burning the enemy down pretty quickly. So there's definitely some approaches to this, and I think this is one of my favorites. Now, obviously, if you're trying to speed run this, you're going to bring in somebody like a seer to really rip all the waves down really fast, get to the boss in 30 seconds, and then just worry about it there. Those are a little bit trickier though, right? You can do that with Royal Guards, obviously, but it's trickier because of that passive ability of the boss. It's very easy to wipe on those runs. So it takes a lot of speed tuning, becomes really difficult to do that, but it's certainly something that is possible. Just not at this gear level, with these champion levels, this account level, we're not quite there yet. So as you can see, it works. We're gonna get, it takes maybe about 2 minutes to get to the boss here, but let's go ahead and jump ahead and come back when we're actually at the boss. And here we are at the boss, right? The whole goal at this point is just get as many poisons and debuffs up as quick as we can. The sooner we get that boss bar filled with debuffs, the better for us. Honestly, I would love to turn off Draco's A3 skill here. I don't want that decreased defense and weaken out at all. I just want the poisons to do the work. And you can see, we lose Miscreated Monster there. That's okay, because Blind Seer is gonna bring him back, and that's gonna help us survive. As long as we don't hit the boss too quickly, we should be okay. But right now, all the champions are focused on the ads on the side. That block debuff ability is preventing things like that heal reduction, the decreased defense from hitting our champions, so we're able to stay alive and get pretty good results. And you can see, yeah, the poisons tick off a ton of damage there. All we need to do at this point is just add to that total, right? Just add more on there so that those ticks are pretty massive. Obviously, those big hits hurt, but this is why we have Miscreated Monster in there. It doesn't have to survive on its own, just has to keep everybody else alive. So this is the team. We'll see how quick this goes. My guess is probably about 3.5 minutes, and we should have this nice and tidied up. There you go. 3 minutes, 26 seconds, about what I said, right? We got it nice and nailed down. We weren't really in any danger of dying at any point through that fight. Obviously, if you get a really mistimed passive hit from the boss, that can totally wipe your team. So it's definitely something you kind of want to keep an eye on, pay attention to, you know, your first couple hundred runs so you have an idea of the win rate. But my guess is this is going to be probably about a 98% win rate. It didn't look like we were really in any danger throughout that fight. The fact that we, you know, lost Miscreated Monster is a good thing. It meant his ally protection was working and everybody else was staying alive throughout that process. And that's really what we're looking to do and have happen here. So yeah, it's a good team. It's a solid run. It's not our best time, but it's definitely not our worst time either. And more importantly, it's consistent. You can see our Blind Seer here, 222 speed, very, very fast. And with 54,000 HP is definitely keeping her alive. More importantly, we have her in Relentless gear, so she can take multiple turns. This is so nice to have for your carry champions, right? The ones that are reviving you, the ones that are protecting you. It's really nice to give them multiple turns so they get their cooldowns back sooner and sooner and sooner. Masteries, we have her going in the offensive tree down here to Giant Slayer, and we have a bunch of support tree stuff here. This is what it was already in. I don't feel like it's worth the gems to re-kit this. I think it's just fine the way it is. We could easily go down the defensive tree and support tree though, using both of those, since her job is not to deal damage but just to stay alive. But getting extra damage hit with that Giant Slayer on bosses is definitely helpful as well. And then we get some of our big boys. You can see Urogrim here. Yeah, we haven't leveled up all of our gear, guys. We're not at that stage yet. We don't have the silver. I don't really necessarily love all the gear we have. And so it's fine not to do that. You don't have to have everything at 16 to make this stuff work. What we do have, 220 speed, which is very fast and very nice and really helpful, especially for a poisoner. 259 accuracy, also something that's really crucial. And then 50,000 HP, again, just to stay alive. That's really our goal here. Now, mastery-wise, this is an interesting one. I did not build this masteries, right? And definitely something I would consider changing up here. If you're going offensive tree to get extra crit rate, that's helpful, right? But honestly, because we're not coming down to War Master or Giant Slayer, the offensive tree is not going to be as useful for us when we're talking about Urogrim. You really only come down the offensive tree if you're going for one of those two damage finishers, right? The tier 6 one. Instead, we're coming down here to Oppressor, and this is actually a really great one. He's getting turn meter buff for every active debuff, basically up to 10%. That's a really nice, I think, bonus to have for somebody like this, because we want him going again and again. He's getting his damage from poisons. We need his cooldowns. We need his turns to happen over and over. I think that's a really smart approach to it. One of the things I might do, though, instead, I like going down the accuracy, turn meter, all this stuff on the support tree. I think is pretty good. But I would say, because he's not in a solo build, We don't need spirit haste. Hopefully nobody's dying, right? And I would really suggest us probably going down the defensive tree as well here, just to get a little bit more turn meter, coming all the way down to Cycle of Revenge, just to get a little bit more boost and a little bit more survivability as well. Now, we did bring in Geomancer, and this is part of his clan boss team. So the speeds are set. I didn't really want to touch this champion whatsoever. Obviously, there's probably a little bit of room to improve on it all the same, but it was already said and part of his team. I didn't want to mess with it. You can see his stats here. He has enough action to land his debuff, which is really what we care about. And he's doing pretty decent damage-wise. He's just slow. So if I was building him just for Dragon, more speed, more HP would definitely be my approach. As far as masteries, obviously Clan Boss Mastery going down the support tree and the offensive tree here. Speaking of Clan Boss champions, we did bring in Draco as well. Same kind of situation, not everything's rolled up. Also going very slow. Good crit damage though, so he will hit hard when he hits, and good actually to land his debuffs. Still not quite 100% crit rate, but that's okay. As far as the masteries go, we've got him down the offensive tree and the support tree. Again, a very Clan Boss build. This is my miscreated monster. Obviously got a shield set on. Good accuracy here to land those stuns, and pretty solid speed. I do like that 171 speed. Gets him a chance to go over and over again, and a 100% crit rate to build those shields up. So I know Ice Golem is a pain in the butt to do. This is why these kind of teams just work for me. I just like, let's set it on auto. We don't have to worry about it. We don't farm this hardly ever. So the few times we do, we just know that we're going to get the runs that we need done, right? I don't care about the time it takes necessarily. We're not spending 8 or 10 minutes, right? That's a fairly reasonable amount of time there, I would say. Obviously, we'd love to get it lower, but, you know, we deal with what we can deal with. And, you know, the approach there is pretty simple. Get as many poisons up on the boss as you can and, you know, just stay alive in the process. Try to get through the waves pretty quickly. And it worked out pretty good for us there. Now, obviously, I don't even think these are really the optimal champions for this approach, this run. Truthfully, we might be better off not having Draco on that team at all. Like, he puts up a lot of poisons, to be sure. But there are other champions that can do that for us, and I think we might even be more successful going with one of them. We could use like a Stagnite instead if you don't have that as a legendary champion, right? And definitely you don't need Blind Seer. Silva Drake does a wonderful job in this kind of a team, bringing actually even more AoE, you know, crowd control with that AoE stun on her A2. It's a very effective champion to use for a team like this. So there's more than a couple options that are, you know, I think really, really good for this team. So I don't think we are stuck at, you know, the level that you might think we are when approaching this type of thing. We're not stuck on the champions that we have on our account. We have more flexibility. That's all I'm trying to say. Look, guys, it's been too long. I'm rambling now. Let's get on for this. We just finished Ice Golem. Stick around, subscribe, hit that notification bell, because the next time we're going to be going at Fire Knight. And that's, boy, thought Ice Golem was tough. Fire Knight, it's a doozy. So we'll see how far we can get on that. I'm actually kind of excited to do it because I haven't done it yet. So we'll see. Till next we meet, guys, I'm the Deadwood Jedi.